The Netherlands. A relatively tiny nation in Europe but ginormous in importance for the world at large. It is the home of ASML, the jewel in the crown of the global semiconductor supply chain. However, through them, the United States of America seems to have one-upped China. They have seemingly persuaded the Dutch to halt their shipments into China and, as we all probably already know, could just be a crippling twist of events on China's future in manufacturing top-tier semiconductors. How and why could this have possibly happened? Would the Dutch actually cut ties with China, home of the second largest economy in the world? This and many more will be discussed in today's video. But where do we even begin? Ah yes, the genesis of why China and everyone else relies so heavily on them. Guys, in the town of Veldhoven, lies the headquarters of ASML. It's worth noting that while they may be the most significant company in the world in terms of chips, they don't even manufacture them. You see, what they do instead is create extreme ultraviolet, more commonly known as EUV, lithography machines for other manufacturers of semiconductors like TSMC and Taiwan. These machines are the ultimate. They are crucial, they are required to make the most cutting-edge chips you can ever find globally, and given how they are the only ones that do so, they have the undoubted monopoly on everything. These machines are necessary to produce the world's most sophisticated chips, and ASML has a de facto monopoly on them because it is the only firm in the world that produces them. As a matter of fact, due to how important these chips are to mankind and especially how they basically control the entire industry, ASML is easily one of the most important companies in the world. However, here's where things may start to sound weird. The Dutch government denied ASML the right to sell its most advanced machines to China in 2018 because they are classified as dual use with possible military uses. In 2018, the Dutch government decided not to grant the required licenses to ASML, which would have allowed them to export any of its cutting-edge EUV lithography machines to China, due to the fears that they could have been potentially used in the military. Were they right? Well, we really can't say for sure. But, with that in mind, from the following year, ASML hadn't been able to ship any EUV machine to China, no thanks to the crippling restrictions in Dutch exportation laws. In every corner, search through every nook and cranny, leaving no stone unturned, you still wouldn't be able to find any EUV system in China. Why? Because there are absolutely none. The United States of America is concerned that if ASML continues to ship machines to China, the gifted and leading chipmakers in the country will not only begin manufacturing the most advanced, high-end semiconductors on the planet but will also harness the gifts of those chips and incorporate them into their extensive military operations and advanced artificial intelligence applications. Are you starting to see the tug-of-war game? Now that we've mentioned all that, have you ever thought about how the business between China and ASML has been booming in recent years? Well, if you haven't, you probably need to sit back and take your feet up, as it's going to be a doozy. The Dutch company, ASML, is the world leader in semiconductor production equipment, bar none. Last year, they had sales to customers in China way over the billion-euro mark. As a matter of fact, it even surpassed up to $2.1 billion last year. So, what are these talks with the United States of America and the Netherlands all about? Apparently, the pressure from the United States of America on the Dutch seems to have begun in 2018 under the leadership and administration of former President Donald Trump. Do you remember those licenses we talked about earlier? According to a report made by Reuters in 2020, the Dutch government only pressed hard to withdraw those crucial ASML licenses, which in turn limited the company from exporting their EUV lithography machines to China after the external influence from the United States of America. You see, under the administration of Donald Trump, the sort of trade war they had with China became even more evident. It even evolved into a battle for cutting-edge tech supremacy. With that in mind, can you see why Washington made it clear to the Netherlands that ASML had to cut off ties with exporting their EUV lithography machine supplies to Chinese companies? Taking China, their biggest competition, out of the game benefits the US in more ways than one. Another evidence of the USA crippling China's technological advances can be seen in Huawei, which we can all agree is China's powerhouse in terms of telecommunications. But how did it happen? Similarly to what is at play now, it started with export restrictions. Except, in this case, the company got restricted from the access they had to the required chips for the manufacturing of their smartphone devices and other products, crippling their mobile business. Also, Donald Trump kept China on their export blacklist to cut off SIMC, China's largest chipmaker, from the technology sector of the USA. However, under Joe Biden, things aren't really looking better. Not only does he support the export laws, but he also seems to have taken the fight up a notch. In October, The Department of Commerce's Bureau of Industry and Security in the U.S. brought forth a new wave of rules requiring companies to apply for a license if they want to sell certain advanced computing semiconductors or related manufacturing equipment to China. Dutch officials are now planning new measures to control exports of chip-making equipment to China, and according to Bloomberg, it could even be extremely similar to the United States' laws to restrict China from gaining access to cutting-edge technology. Interestingly, the agreement may even just be finalized really soon. It may even come as soon as the forthcoming month. According to Bloomberg, the people, while pleading to be anonymous, who know everything going on behind the scenes, the negotiations and talks are rapidly ongoing, but alas, there is no final decision on the matter, yet. Alas, what we do know is that if it actually does come to fruition, especially if it is really soon, this move could potentially expand the unspoken ban on some technology sales to China and, of course, would be a solid move to rally up with the efforts of the United States of America to limit the military and chip-making ambitions of Beijing. Another essential point to note is that, outside of the United States of America, the Netherlands and Japan are the largest providers of machinery and technological know-how to create sophisticated, cutting-edge technologies, but they have yet to completely get those partners on board. The talks aren't finalized yet, and the decisions are still yet to be made, but there's a growing feeling that the Netherlands may just put a ban on the sales of equipment capable of making 14 nanometers chips or even ones that are more advanced than that. However, if this happens, it could have a significant impact on the ASML holding company, which is the world's leading supplier of DUV lithography machines used to manufacture advanced semiconductors, as they would become entangled in the web of the United States of America's efforts to cripple China's ability to manufacture its own cutting-edge chips. Also, according to ASML's latest annual report, given how China alone contributed about 15% of the firm's revenue last year, you do the math. You're probably wondering why the Dutch are also keen on acting in unity with the United States of America to cripple China's ambitions, aren't you? Well, for starters, Washington has some leverage over the Dutch as ASML uses components that are made in, you guessed it, the USA. To buttress that point even more, since October, American officials have been dishing out stern warnings to their allies that if they do fail to comply in accordance with the new export control measures in place, they could ban the sale of foreign equipment that holds even the tiniest amount of US tech to China. Furthermore, given how Dutch officials would be more than willing to act in accordance with America to cripple China's easy access to chip technologies due to both nations' closely related concerns about China applying cutting-edge chips to their military, causing a national security risk for them, things are about to get dicier and dicier as time passes. Best believe we'd be here to talk about everything that keeps unfolding. What are your thoughts, though? Do you think the Netherlands would follow through with the proposed talks? Also, would China be able to recover if that happens? If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and comment. Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on your notifications. See you there.